Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very young in this. When I met Ole, I wasn't working in Pedalar Sem Idade. That's how we say it, cycling without age in Portuguese. The right to feel the wind in your hair, it's how you say it in Portuguese. Pelo direito ao vento nos cabelos, it's our language. And when I received this invitation from Ole, we feel very honored. I don't know if I have something to tell you, so I hope so. I hope you enjoy it. Fundraising, right? Money, right? Okay, let's talk about money. But first we like to introduce a little bit of our country. We are a small country. You miss a part of a black thing there because Spain and Portugal are the same on that map. We don't mind at all, right? Our Spanish chapter's present, but there's a little black line over there, but it's okay. So it's been already called by the speakers before me. Portugal, it's the third most aged country in Europe. 23% of the population is above 65. Seniors living alone, 500,000 Portuguese live alone in Portugal. We are 10 million, so it's a lot. It's a lack of supports in the community, a lack and I don't know the exact word. You have to excuse me, my English, it's a little bit rusty. But the responses are not adequate. Thank you very much. And the society is not very aware for the elders. We don't respect so much the elders as you in the north, or the Singapore, or the Latins are a little bit more like to music and food, and the elders are left alone in the home cares. That's the context. So, to introduce us, we started in 2018 by doing, to ask Ole if we could open a chapter in Lisbon, and in 2021 we became a national chapter, more than so, because now we operate in 9 cities. We have the colleagues of Porto also here, a chapter in Portugal, but we are responsible for these cities in Portugal. So, sorry, this wasn't supposed to be like this. It was supposed to, sorry. So, the thing is, we started in 2018. There was no one working on CWA in Lisbon. Only in 2020 it was possible to hire 3 people because of a program, an European money, called Portugal Inovação Social, Portugal Social Innovation. So it was a big growth during the 2 years. It was a pandemic time. It was very, very challenging. Oh, sorry. Too late, sorry. Now, so in 2020, a small group of 3 people, an unlikely crew. I'm a kindergarten teacher. My colleague Amos is a sailorman, and Leonor is a pharmacist. So the 3 of us, we started in Lisbon and Cascais, and 3 years later, we are in 9 cities, and now we are a team of 5. So these partners are the institution that home cares, day centers, and etc. And also with the singular people. As was said here, it's a challenge to knock on someone's door and say, "Are you lonely? Please come with us." In Portugal, even more, because we don't use the bicycle as you do. We are absolutely amazed to see, we never saw so many bicycles in our lives. Never. So it's very interesting. It's totally different. People don't accept to ride bicycle when they are 90. They feel shame. They say, what is my neighbor going to say? So, sometimes it's very funny and we say, why not? Why not first time to ride a bike with 90 years old? It's going to be amazing. But others say, no, it's a shame, I'm not going to do it. So it's very challenging. So how do we survive? 3 people, now 5 people. First, we got, as I was saying, public funding. It was very important for the kickoff. It was fundamental. This program, Portugal Inovação Social, it's European money, but then it ended. So when it ended, how do we manage? We were chosen by Fundação AGEAS. AGEAS, it's part of an insurance group, a big group. It's Belgian, I think, AGEAS Insurance. So the foundation started a new program called Venture Philanthropy. It's a new way of looking to, it's not a traditional philanthropy. Instead of giving small amounts of money to a lot of organizations, it's choosing few organizations to help, to ask you what do you need to grow. Because if you want to have impact, you have to grow. You don't solve social problems without growing. You don't solve social problems with few money. So we were chosen to be one of the associations that have this money. So we hired 2 more people and we are working on the metrics that we sign up with AGEAS Foundation. In 5 years from now, I have to return impact to them, okay? They gave us money, we have to return impact. What impact? Fight loneliness, well-being, and some money also. Like venture capital, but not the... In venture capital, you have to return your lucros, please. How do you say lucro? Profits, thank you very much. In venture philanthropy, you have to return your gains. If I won 100 euros, I have to give a few things of my 100 euros. If I don't want anything in these 5 years, I don't give anything. So it's a risk for them. It's a risk for the AGEAS Foundation. But it's a very interesting way to help, and it's a very interesting way to solve social problems. But in the meanwhile, and in order to succeed with this program and with this how do we say, a leap of faith that the foundation gave to us, we have to invent and to be creative and to work sometimes 12 hours a day. So we have these team buildings, some with the Cisco. These are some examples, and I will explain to you with some corporates. And the model, we have done a lot of application for private funding. The team buildings we designed, like solidarity team buildings, it's a very interesting solution because companies paid us an amount, and we made, we also made the mission of Cycling Without Age, the aim, and it's in the middle of all of our action. So the teams, we made it with small teams because we only have 5 tree shows in Lisbon, but we invite a small group of collaborators of the team to spend one morning or one afternoon. It's a 3 hours activity, and they spend it with us. We took this idea from the colleagues from Singapore. We do an aging simulation. We explain what the movement is. We show that amazing video from Ole from some years ago. We explain what Cycling Without Age is. Then they try the tree show for the first time, one of them as the passengers and another as the pilots. And then, at the end, they made a real ride with some regular passengers that already know us, and that's how they get to know you. And that's a good way to be after that, patrons, or to develop with us some model that I will talk about later as the volunteering corporate. So, sorry. So, I will sell team buildings, projects from private fundings. Again, the mission is always the tree shore ride. It's only tackling social isolation and loneliness. So we just understood that the tree shore can be used on a different public, not only elders, but also the social prescribing. I was saying, doctors prescribing social responses instead of medicines as a passenger or as a volunteer. With mental health diagnosis, we get some finance for doing some rides with them. People that don't talk, John was asking that. We evaluate those rides with the technicians from the institutions. As a volunteer, I don't see any change on the people, but when I return, the care or the technician of the institution tells me, she loved the rides. I couldn't see any changes, but someone who spends all day with those people can see the changes. So they can fulfill those faces that was shown. And people in palliative care situations, sometimes not elders, and informal caregivers. I don't know if we translate this well. Okay. Patrons. So the rides are free because somebody offers. And in Portugal, we understood that this is great because of the ESG and the compromise with the European standards that it has to be in the reports, in the sustainability reports of the companies. Cycling Without Age is a mine of gold for the companies because it has the E, it has the G. So you can sell that to the companies. So if they do volunteer with us, if they support us, if they have their brand on the tree shows. So the idea is those institutions can do the rides because the company A offers them. That's how we managed to get some money also. This is what we do, this is what we sell to the companies. More connection to the local community, commitment to the sustainability and social responsibility. It's measurable because after they support us, we gave them a report because we developed a questionnaire that people also fulfilled in the beginning of after the first ride with us and after 6 months riding, or after 6 or 8 rides with us. Visibility and recognition, because nobody, it's impossible because the bicycle, it's not used so much in Portugal, so a tree show passing by, everybody stares at and everybody asks what is that, and with elders sitting on it even more. So with Cisco or something like that, I'm not going to give you names in Portugal because you wouldn't understand, but with some important companies, it's very interesting. So it's the brand reinforcement to be associated with something that it's very, we are suspicious, right? But with something it's very amazing, as Cycling Without Age is. So that's it. I think we all know what this is. I think we all know what we represent. I think we do the best thing in the world, which is to enable seniors or people with reduced mobility to leave the neighborhoods, more than the right to feel the wind in your head, in your hair. As Ole says, is the right to belong. It's not because you are elder that you lose your rights. So improve their lives, making them feel valued, integrated, promote social inclusion, citizenship, develop the solidarity bonds between people, institutions, companies, develop volunteering. Volunteering, it's a volunteering that it's immediately, right? You see immediately that you are doing good on that people, that you are doing the difference on that day, and relationship and friendship and whatever you say. And I'm 1 minute and that's it. If you would like to know more, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so while we're just changing around a bit, any questions about later on? No? It's all clear?
Sorry,
Yeah.
between dinner and the movie, is that walkable too?
Actually, between the movie and dinner? Yes. Yeah, but it'll take you about half an hour. So yeah, it is walkable.
So I think Ola has long legs.
So you want this one? Okay. All right. This is the yeah. Okay. All right. Please welcome Christine Bell from Scotland.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd just like to apologise for a croaky throat I've had for a while. A lot of people that know me were quite glad of it for a while, but anyway, I'm getting over it now, so I'm back in action. So a huge thanks, first of all, for inviting me to be here, and I'm absolutely delighted to see a lot of people from Scotland flying the flag for us here. We've got our Musselburgh chapter up the top. Right up the very back, we've got our chapter for Inverurie and Kemnay, our representative. We've got Eileen, our chapter captain for Isla Cumbria, and a number of others that she's creating. And Eileen's one of our new employees. And Ray, with the black cap on in front here, is my right-hand man. So, yeah, that's the team. So a quick introduction. So we were a bit kind of unusual in how we started. I was at the very end of a project that I had been doing for 5 years, which was a local regeneration in a community which spanned 16 different communities. We took it upon ourselves at the request of our local authority, because we were very, very active volunteers, and we had cleaned up our own community of 10 tons of rubbish and fly tipping and all sorts, and regenerated a local river in the park. And with that success, the local authority then came to us and said, look, if you can do this for your own little community, could you do it for the whole Central Belt? And not shy of a challenge, we thought, myself and another lady who were the volunteers doing this, we thought, well, we'll try. So we did, and cut a long story very short in that. We got together, we put lamppost posters up saying, if you love where you live but you want to change it, come to a meeting, and 30 people did. And we got together to regenerate 16 communities. And one of the things that these communities wanted was an active path network between them. But we always resonated with the elderly people who came to our consultations, which were, there was about 3,000 people came to our consultations. Because if you're doing anything in a community, anything at all, even Cycle Without Age, you really need to engage with the community. You need to know if they want it. You can't just think, oh, this is a great idea, I'm going to do this, especially if you want money to do it. So we had to engage with the community, and the community elderly people said, all we want from the local community is nice paths, and we want to go for picnics in the nice paths like we did with our grannies when we were youngsters. We thought, okay, that sounds like we noted that in our 31-point plan. Anyway, again, over 7 years, we got a lot of nice paths in. We worked really, really hard. We identified where the funding was available at that time. We engaged with the local authority and the whole government-wide organisations in Scotland. And we raised over £2 million at that time for bridges and path networks and cycle networks and regeneration infrastructure. And we found then, to our surprise, that grassroots community groups really can access funds if they're active and they've got the right ideas and they've got the energy to do it. So we done that, and we were coming to the very end of that project. This was in 2016. And the only thing we hadn't addressed was getting elderly people to these paths and these bridges. And lo and behold, we discovered this magic project that had been started in Denmark. So I was applying for yet another fund from the Climate Challenge Fund at that time, and I put in £10,000 as a possibility for funds to explore the possibility of cycling without age for Scotland. So that £10,000 enabled us to do that. It enabled me to send our youngest volunteer over to Ollie's first summit, and it enabled us to buy 2 prototype trishaws of the trio bike trishaw that we've got now. So we brought the 2 prototypes to Scotland, and then young Fraser came back from the summit saying, yeah, this sounds like it could just do what we need it to do for the older people in Falkirk. And him and I went out in the path networks on these 2 trishaws to see where they could go. But we had a challenge, and that challenge ended up being a very, very good learning curve for us, because we needed to engage with older people to take them on it. And any care home we were thinking about approaching and spoke tentatively to, they said, oh, no, who are you? Are you insured? Are you trained to do this? You want us to give an old person a 16-year-old lad and let him go out on a bike? You know, it sounded like the most bizarre thing in the planet. So we knew very quickly that this isn't going to work very easily in Scotland, certainly not with the ease that it worked in Denmark, because our organisations are very, very steeped in rules and regulations. And certainly the care of vulnerable people was very, very heavily regulated. So we knew we had a challenge on our hands, but we managed to talk one care home into engaging with us to get this pilot. We called it a pilot at the time, but it was a pilot project. We didn't even call our riders pilots at that time. So we got our pilot project started off, and Fraser and I, we identified this care home. We went riding all around the community, and it was a huge success. But the very first rides we took out this care home were in February in Scotland. It was freezing. It was miserable. But we took this lady out who had, she was in the care home, had been there for years, she had dementia. And when we got her back and we told the care home she loved it, she was speaking away to us, they said, no, she doesn't speak, Isabel doesn't speak. So, well, she spoke. And she was talking to us. And that to them was a light bulb moment. I thought, this has got power, this project, you know. So anyway, we eventually, our funding term ran out at the 27th of March 2017, and we had to have our official launch day that day. And I got in touch with Ollie, and Ollie came over. I dressed him up in a kilt and black stockings and a T-shirt, and he went trishaw riding out with Fraser in his kilt and black stockings, and I was the outrider. And we actually, on an end of March day for Scotland, we were very lucky to have 20 degrees and sunshine. So it was the most beautiful day and the most beautiful ride, and we went along to the most beautiful place. And it was a huge success. But from our experience in the local river regeneration project and everything we'd done prior to that, the key for us that I had learned was that you have to take the government and the officials with you on any of these endeavours. You don't just put an idea to them, you take them on the journey and you convince them that they need this. And that's what we've done from the outset. So we got then the official launch done on the 27th of March. We had no funding left. And we decided, well, what do we do next? So we thought, we'll continue to promote it. We'll work away in a river regeneration programme. And then the news got out of the photographs of Ollie and Fraser and the trishaw and stuff got out, and there was obviously more and more talk about it. So the BBC Three had found an article of us in the Metro newspaper, which reaches the whole of England and London. And they were doing a special feature on amazing humans at the time. And that amazing human had to be the feature of the programme. So they asked us if we could weave Cycling Without Age into a feature in that. So we teamed up young Fraser on the trishaw with 2 elderly people that had been taken out of the care home. And the rest was history. That feature just seemed to hit the nail on the head. It was beautifully put together by BBC Three. And in my naivety, I thought, it's only on the internet. It'll only get a few hundred views. And then, obviously, the power of the internet took over. And within 3 days, it had 15 million views. And we were completely blown away. But what that did was it raised the awareness of this project in our small country of 6.5 million people. And the Scottish government then were wakened up to it. And they thought, if this is happening in Scotland, we need it to happen all over Scotland. So they called us in for a chat. And they said, look, we want to do this. but we want you to write a paper on how to do it. So from what we learned and the fact that we visited Denmark, and we knew that it wasn't going to be easy in Scotland because of the regulation that was required and the, all the insurance requirements and the disclosure requirements, the Protection of Vulnerable People Act, we knew we'd have to do it differently. So I wrote up the paper and I told them how it would be best be done, and that would be to have a supporting body in Scotland to enable the chapters who did want to start, because by then they were queuing up at the door. Morna and her husband Ewan was knocking on the door by then to say, we want to do this, because we had an event in the Parliament in the September that of 2017, and Morna was there, as were lots of people who had seen this video and came along to start it. And everybody was wanting to just get started right away. Nobody wanted to wait, but they had to wait till we get this regulatory body started. So we were very fortunate, and I know I've heard around the room that a lot of you are kind of, other chapters have started around the country, and it's very difficult then to get it under an umbrella body. But we were very lucky, and the people who were waiting to start, like Morna and Ewan, were very, very patient with us and said, yeah, okay, we'll wait, we'll work away in the background, we'll fundraise, and we'll get a trishaw money. How much did it cost, la-di-da? And they were very, very very kind enough to hold back for the regulatory body, and that was to be the support body to make it happen across Scotland, because the government wanted it all over Scotland. So to do that, it would have to be done in a regulated way, to meet with the Scottish Care Inspectorate, because every door you chapped on, they'd just say, who? No thanks, we're not wanting anything to do with this. You're no trained, you're no disclosure checked, or young, whatever. Anyway, so that's how we got started, but a good time on now, and it can bring me on to fundraising, because we have obviously got a lot to fundraise for, because we've now got a regulatory body that we've got to fund. So we keep the cost of that to a minimal, and that's we've got 2 full-time people and 5 part-time people in our headquarters team, and we serve the whole of Scotland. And now we're in 2024, and we've got 80 chapters across the country and 140 trishaws. So we're pretty proud of that, and every one of them's active. And in doing that, what we also are enabled to do is we can support all the chapters that are doing it. If they run into difficulties, if they've got mechanical difficulties, we've got Ray, he's our mechanical guru, who'll do all that for us. And we've got a really big fundraising power, because we are a regulated body and we're a registered charity. So, we can fundraise to keep the trishaw wheels rolling to an extent around the country, and to continue with the spread around the country. So we do that, and we do 2 types of funding now that we're embedded in Scotland. We do local fundraising, and we do national fundraising. The national fundraising is to continue the rollout across the country, and to support the regulatory body that helps with the support for the chapters. And the local fundraising, we identify works absolutely best for local communities, because a trishaw that's already funded, and then you approach a community and ask if they want it, it's never going to be as successful as a group that already wants it and wants to help fundraise and make it happen themselves. So what we do is we support the chapters to fundraise. So we've got a fundraising officer in our office who will do all the donkey work with signing, we'll do all the help with filling out the applications. But then we'll also help with the national fundraising. This is just a quick slide of a local chapter fundraising. That's one of the most recent ones up in Thurso. They got fundraising funds from their Bailey Wind Farm, but we identified that was a possibility for them, so we'll do a search locally to see where they could get monies from. So they got their funds, their trishaw from that. And this is Graham Watson, who's tried to hide right up the very back there. He got his funds for Inverurie and Kemney, and he got, as a result of that, he had such a huge success, he got a visit from the Prince of Wales in his community, so we support them when they're doing that. And when I'm saying that we keep in touch with the government, because they fund us to make sure this happens across the country, we go every year to the Scottish Parliament, and we every single 192 MSP members of the Scottish Parliament, we get them to continue to sign a pledge that they roll it out across their community. So we're engaging them in what we're doing. but we're getting their buy-in for the next year and the next year. So we go there, we tell the story of where we're up to. We've got a brochure you'll see at the end that says how many chapters we've got. We try to keep in with all the right the people and keep the profile as high as we can. So we had King over to visit us, which was very nice. And this is just some of our team. And again, you'll notice the blankets here are funded by a particular project. So again, people with big projects, that they can take trishaws which will add value to that project. They'll come to us to say, look, could we fund a couple of trishaws, and would you be able to start a chapter in a particular location? So we do that for them too. And then that's our spread across the country now, just in the few years having missed with the COVID years. And we literally get about 4 calls every quarter, so about 1 call a month to start a new chapter every year. And there's a lot of work goes into starting a new chapter, but it's worth it, and we make them feel hugely valued, because they are. I mean, all the volunteers are what makes it happen. But we're there with a supporting body to help. So, I mean, if there's any question at all you want to ask when we're asking questions about fundraising, we can help there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, now we just have a